All right, we are in Genesis chapter 41, as your handout clearly illustrates. If you didn't get a handout last week, I do have some leftover ones.
Oh, please.
Oh, here we go.
Or was I here?
I don't know.
You
Were
weren't here, I don't believe.
No.
You weren't?
No, I was,
All right.
yeah.
See, I always just use the cell phone as my second brain to tell me where I was at.
Yeah. So I
Where
can go
was
back and
I?
look at my calendar. Like, oh, I had that.
Nope, I did not. No, I got gone.
All right.
Thank you.
So, anyways, in chapter 40, we have this situation where, remember, Potiphar's wife falsely accused, she bore false witness. She broke the 8th commandment against Joseph. She also broke the 6th commandment. She was lusting after him, and he, in a very godly way, being a good Christian, he said, no thank you, and he fled like he was fleeing the devil. Speaking of Lent, and this Lent 1, Jesus fighting against the devil in the wilderness. You know, you have to resist with the word of God so that the devil will flee, right? So Joseph wisely resists, but that doesn't mean there isn't consequences, because most often in life we sin and we bear the consequences for our sin. But often it quite happens where others sin against us and we are innocent, and there's still consequences even though it's not of our own making, right? And this can even happen at the level of the country, global thing, war, famine. I mean, stuff that you didn't have anything to do with, and yet here you are suffering because of others' sins, right? So this is part of the living in a fallen world, unfortunately. But here comes the cupbearer and the baker, right? Pharaoh's upset with them, and they have dreams which are given to them by the Lord. Joseph interprets the dreams, and it happens to them exactly as the Lord spoke through Joseph in his prophetic office. And do you remember the cupbearer? What happened to the cupbearer? He was exonerated. His head was lifted up, and he was restored to his position, and he put Pharaoh's cup into his hand, right? Imagine being a king and you're so lazy you can barely lift your hand to have somebody put a cup in your... Tell Jerry he needs to put the cup in your hand, so you can sit in his rocking chair. And
I do too much for Jerry, so don't.
yeah, he needs to turn the favor. Mother's Day is coming up.
I know.
All right, so
but you know what he told me? I'm not his mother.
The mother of his children.
I know, and I told him that, but
All
he's pretty good.
He's being cantankerous.
Yeah,
so.
he's very cantankerous.
All right.
Isn't that right, Kenny?
Keeps things interesting that way. Okay, so, and then of course the baker had the opposite effect. His head was lifted up, stretched, and he was hung from a tree, right? But the cupbearer, Joseph said, hey, just don't forget about me. And the cupbearer did what?
Forgot about it.
Promptly forgot about poor Joseph, who's in prison, again, not because of something he did, but because of things that were done to him. Not just once, but twice. And we have 13 or 14 offenders at this point. All of his brothers, all but one of his brothers, the captain of the guard, and Potiphar's wife, right? So multiple people have transgressed against him, and he's suffering unjustly in the pit and in prison, right? All right, so now to chapter 41. Does someone want to read? Now, there is some challenging names in here. Don't get discouraged, but there are a few as we go along in this chapter. Does someone want to read 41, 1 through 16? Quite a bit.
After 2 whole years, Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing by the Nile, and behold, there came up out of the Nile 7 cows, attractive and plump, and they fed in the reed grass. And behold, 7 other cows, ugly and thin, came up out of the Nile after them and stood by the other cows on the bank of the Nile. And the ugly, thin cows ate up the 7 attractive, plump cows. And Pharaoh awoke, and he fell asleep and dreamed a second time. And behold, 7 ears of grain, plump and good, were going on one stalk. And behold, after them sprouted 7 ears, thin and blighted by the east wind. And the thin ears swallowed up the 7 plump full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. So in the morning his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all of its wise men. Pharaoh told them his dreams, but there was none who could interpret them to Pharaoh. Then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, I remember my offenses today. When Pharaoh was angry with his servants and put me and the chief baker in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, we dreamed on the same night, he and I, each having a dream with its own interpretation. A young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. When we told him, he interpreted our dreams to us, giving an interpretation to each man according to his dream. And as he interpreted to us, so it came about. I was restored to my office, and the baker was hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they quickly brought him out of the pit. And when he had shaved himself and changed his clothes, he came in before Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have had a dream, and there is no one who can interpret it. I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. Joseph answered Pharaoh, it is not in me. God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer.
Very good. All right. So, chapter 40, he's been forgotten by the cupbearer. What a terrible guy, right? His own life is spared. Joseph, by God's grace, gives him a favorable interpretation. He forgets about, and how many years passes? 2 whole years.
He's in the pit that long.
Valley of the shadow of death.
So
right?
is he actually in a pit hole?
Right. Well, the Hebrew word there, and I did look it up because I knew you were going to ask that question, right? Well, I knew somebody might, but I did look it up. That word is the same word earlier used when his brothers threw him into a pit. Here it is like a lower level dungeon, a complex dungeon.
So a dark hole.
So it can be translated pit or prison, hole. So it's truly, your medieval dungeon type of situation, right? I would imagine since this is Pharaoh's, and we know there was at one point multiple people there earlier in chapter 40, the cupbearer was in the same pit, prison. The baker, very good. Joseph, the jailer, and likely others. So it's probably a very large underground pit.
Yeah.
/ carved into the rock, who knows? Not the nicest place in the whole world. I guarantee you they're not getting cable television and 3 meals a day from the
showers
from the U.S. taxpayer.
Considering he had to clean himself up.
Yes, right. So we're going to get to that the miraculous makeover, like one of those television shows,
Well, that's why
For Joseph.
cupbearer couldn't go down there. They couldn't have all them drinks and all that.
Yeah. It's not the nicest place in the whole world, right? So anyways, 2 years passes, right? And then there's the dream, and obviously there's the number 7 over and over and over again. Now remember, 7 is a very symbolic number both in the Old and New Testament. It's the number of God. It's the number of creation, with the 7th day being the day of rest when the Lord had rested from all his work. Time and time again, you see the number 7, and you also see multiples of 7. 7 times 7, and 7 times 7 times 7, or 70 times 7. It just reoccurs, right? It's the number of God in creation, right? So you've got the whole thing about the grain and the cows and all that stuff, and we'll get to the interpretation here in a second because Moses is going to spell it out, right? But I want you to look though. Now suddenly the chief cupbearer, when it's once again in his interest, suddenly remembers, I totally forgot, my lord, right? So now he's going to look good in the eyes of Pharaoh because he's going to help Pharaoh. And so now he's trying to get in Pharaoh's good graces here. How do you forget and then suddenly I don't know. I think he just didn't care, but now he can ingratiate himself with the king, right? And there's this young Hebrew servant of the captain of the guard. Now notice here, Potiphar and Potiphar's wife have basically allowed Joseph to languish, right? Not for any, well, I guess the crime would be, the accusation was that he came into the house to rape her, and then she cried out, and then he freaked out that she cried out, and then he dropped his robe and ran away. So the crime would be attempted rape. That's the accusation, right? So he's been allowed to languish for several years in this prison, but of course the Lord has blessed him in the midst of the false accusations and in the midst of notice though he didn't immediately deliver him from his suffering. Now pastorally here, we often as sinners, when we're suffering unjustly, when we suffer, nobody likes to suffer, right? But when you suffer justly, you may not like it, but most rational human beings, hopefully especially Christians, would say, hey, I'm suffering justly because I did whatever, right? So it's fitting that I should suffer for these things, right? And no one likes unjust suffering. I mean, male and female, men and women all agree upon it. Unjust suffering is horrific, right? But notice here, as Christians, when there is unjust suffering going on, or we feel that we're unjustly suffering, when you cry out to the Lord, the answer can either be, yes, I will deliver you, or no, because we don't like to be told no, right? Or it will be yes, but you have to wait, and he has a reason why. Now, just as small children are supposed to trust their parents, when their parents say, we're going to help you practice delayed gratification, and the kids are like, delayed? What the heck is delayed gratification? It's not what you're going to have to wait, we say. And then the child gets angry because they want it now, right? In that way, we are also very spiritually immature when we get angry with the Lord, because the answer is that yes, now, right? So just as mom and dad have a reason why they say, we want you to wait, right? The child then has to wrestle with delayed gratification, disciplining their flesh, practicing discipline in that way, but also trusting their parents, that their parents are saying later out of love and not out of wrath or spite or hatred. Although when you're probably 2 years old and you're standing in the Walmart line and you want the candy and the parents say no, or later, you think your parents hate you because the answer is no or later, right? You can, at least...
It was hard for me.
Yeah, a lot of kids are very dramatic that way. I think most kids are, right?
They have that candy right there.
Oh, yeah.
And when Jeff was little, he was 3 years old.
Yeah.
He grabbed the candy, didn't know it. You know, you're busy paying. He comes outside and he goes, look what I got.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I go, Jeff, we didn't pay for that.
Yeah.
It was there. So I took him back in and made him hand it over.
Yeah.
Boy, did I get the evil eye.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But I said, we don't take
We
Jeff.
learned a lesson, didn't we, right? I once heard that there was a young boy who about that age, I've been told this story.
Did you do that too?
Hold on. I've been told, I don't know if this is true. I can neither confirm nor deny. But I was told that a young man at Scott's grocery store, 3 years old, was in line and saw the plethora of candies and grabbed a little tube or roll, and as mom was driving him home from grocery shopping, she looked through the rearview mirror and saw him chomping away on these little white tablets, and she said, "Where did you get that?" And he said, "Oh, I got candy from the store." It's like, well, you didn't pay for that. And he's like confused because you'll pay. What is pay?
Yeah.
This is free, right? And the mom pulls over and she grabs lecturing him, and he's confused, doesn't understand what's going on. And grabs the roll of candy. And you know what the name of the candy was?
Rolos?
Tums.
Oh! Boy, you
peppermint Tums.
I bet they taste pretty good. I mean, you were eating them.
Who said me? I said I heard a story. Right? And of course, then marched him back to the store, explained to the manager, there's crying, there's tears, there's confusion, etc. But the lesson was learned, right? So, I also heard from this young man that he wondered why it didn't taste very good. So, a little chalky.
Because the advertisement was prettier than the actual. Yeah.
Right.
You know, and I was a cashier there for years. I still, you know, I bet the number of candy that goes out with kids is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
Because almost every single one of them would pick something up.
Oh, sure.
And if mom saw it, mom or dad would say, you need to put that back. We're not getting that. But for all the times they saw them, I bet there's twice as many that they never noticed.
Well, I'm sure there's theft that goes on, and then also there has to be enough parents that are giving in to the pressure that just to keep their kids quiet, to make it profitable. Otherwise, why else would you have it there?
I just really would think that it would be too expensive with the shoplifting. Not deliberate shoplifting. Kids don't know any better.
Yeah, they must be getting enough volume out the door to offset the losses or the lack of sales. So I mean, all this is to say that, you know, when you're suffering unjustly or God is withholding something for you, as a parent would, teaching Joseph here delayed gratification, you know, he plans on delivering him. Probably not in a way that Joseph could have possibly foreseen at all, let alone would Joseph in his fallen flesh appreciate the timing of it all. But the lesson here for us is that even in the midst of his suffering, Joseph wants out. He's certainly pleading with the Lord. He's pleading with the cupbearer, don't forget about me, his fellow man. And he definitely wants to be delivered. But he doesn't despair. He doesn't stop trusting the Lord. He doesn't hate God. He still trusts the Lord, even though he's not necessarily comfortable with the current arrangement, right? And that's a lesson for all of us, right? Is that, and of course, this is Lenten tide, so it's a perfect example, is that we as Christians were called to bring our thoughts, our fallen thoughts and feelings and our flesh into submission, right? Through various spiritual disciplines, whether it's studying the scriptures, prayer, fasting, mourning, church attendance, you know, those types of things, giving alms to the poor, etc. All the classic spiritual disciplines. But in all these things, we grow up in Christ. You know, we become stronger through the hardships and the suffering. And of course, none of us are like, hey, sign me up for more suffering so I can get stronger, right? But when it does come to us, we don't go looking for it. It's like martyrdom. You know, it's like if the government ever gets so harsh that they start persecuting Christians, as they have in so many other lands throughout history, if that should eventually come to the United States, it's not like they're going to tack up a martyrdom board down at the town square and we're going to go put our names on it. Hey, I'm looking forward to this. You know, you don't actively pursue it, but when it comes to you, ideally by God's grace, you become so grown up and so strong in your faith that even in the midst of the valley of the shadow of death, right? Not that you want to die, right? And God hates death. That's why he destroys death through resurrection when he comes on the last day, right? He hates death. We don't love death. We don't look forward to it. But at the same time, we become spiritually mature enough and strong enough that we recognize that even in death, right, Christ can deliver me, right? In the book of Hebrews, for example, the writer, the apostle who wrote Hebrews says that even Abraham believed that God would raise Isaac from the dead, right? So he didn't understand what was going on, but here he had this clear command from Yahweh to do this thing. Of course, the angel of the Lord intercedes, and the Lord was never going to follow through with it. It was a test to see how strong Abraham's faith had come after decades of walking with the Lord. But Abraham, even in the midst of the confusion and the fear and the anxiety and the terror of this command to bring death to his only son, the Zerah, the one who would carry the seed, who would crush the head of the serpent, he believed that Yahweh could raise him from the dead, right? Such was his faith, right? So all of this is a lesson to us that no matter what circumstances come our way, whether you're in the pit or you're in prison or you're facing the fear of death, or as we're going to find out with Egypt here in a moment, famine, right? Economic ruin, right? Or even for the Israelites, slavery is coming, right? When the current Pharaoh, who's seemingly benevolent, dies, and eventually a new Pharaoh arises who did not know Joseph, nor did he remember Elohim, Yahweh, right? And that guy then becomes the classic Yul Brynner 10 Commandments. What was the director's name?
Cecil B. DeMille.
Cecil B. DeMille, that's right. And your favorite, Charlton Heston, right? And the 10 Commandments, your classic Pharaoh.
Movie.
Yeah, I do like that. That's a good one. So a lot better than a lot of the trash that Hollywood makes today. So anyways, here the young Hebrew. Now here's the sign of his faith, right? After they do the miraculous makeover that we talked about earlier, almost like it's a Egyptian TV program. He showers, he shaves, puts on fresh clothing. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, what an improvement, right? You ever seen those shows where they take some guy and he gets a haircut and they trim his beard up and he loses a few pounds and they put him on a new and all the women in the audience are like, oh my gosh, right? A lot of those shows, right? So here's the fabulous makeover. Notice here the key phrase. Mm-hmm. Pharaoh wants to give him the credit. And what does Joseph do? Verse 16.
It's not in me.
God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer.
Which is the Christian answer. It is not in me, right? Why can't I find it? Yeah, it is not in me. Elohim will give Pharaoh, and the word Pharaoh is just the Egyptian word for king. In English, a favorable answer. The word here for another way to say it, as I have in my notes here, is an announcement of shalom. And shalom, yes, can be translated peace, but there's a wholeness to shalom. It's not just the absence of war. It's even like safety, good news, peace, wellness, right? It's a totality of peace or rest or wellness, if you will. So this is an announcement or an answer of this, my God Elohim has good things for you in this dream. Now, how would Joseph know this? Well, the Lord is literally, he's standing in the place of the prophet. What does the prophet do in the Old Testament even before the law and the prophets are given? The role of the patriarch is to speak forth that which he has been spoken, right? So the Lord is literally leading him through the Spirit at this point to give the right words before kings, right? It's almost like a pre-Pentecost, right? Where the Lord says, I'm going to send you out from here, out from Jerusalem to Judea, to Samaria, to the uttermost parts of the earth, right? And don't worry about when you stand before councils and governors and kings. I will give you the words to testify. And what happens later when Paul's standing before, Agrippa, and Peter's standing before the synagogue, and all these things as Christianity goes out, even to the emperor of Rome, and ultimately to the whole world, is the prophets and the apostles are, under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, able to give voice to what the will of God is, right? So a favorable answer or an announcement of shalom is coming, right? And so Pharaoh's like, ooh, who doesn't like good news, right? So, any questions so far? Anything? All right, so let's keep going. Someone want to read, excuse me, 17 through, another long one, 36. 17 through 36.
Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Behold, in my dream, I was standing on the banks of the Nile. 7 cows, plump and attractive, came up out of the Nile and fed on the reed grass. 7 other cows came up after them, poor and very ugly and thin, such as I have never seen in all of the land of Egypt. And the thin, ugly cows ate up the first 7 plump cows. But when they had eaten them, no one would have known they had eaten them, for they were still as ugly as the beginning. Then I awoke. I also saw in my dream 7 ears growing on one stalk, full and good. 7 ears, withered, thin, and blighted by the east wind, sprouted after them. And the thin ears swallowed up, and the 7 good ears. And I told it to the magicians, but there was no one who could explain it to me. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, "The dreams of Pharaoh are one. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are even 7 years. The dreams are one. The 7 lean and ugly cows that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty years or ears blighted by the east wind are also 7 years of famine. It is as I told Pharaoh. God has shown to Pharaoh what he is about to do."
Very
Do I
good.
keep going?
That's fine. We'll break
Okay.
right there. So obviously, I don't really have to go over the 7 that he just literally
Yeah.
told you, right? So 7 years of good, followed by 7 years of
I liked how he said
famine.
the cows were still ugly.
Yes, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe like on those makeup shows, there's
doesn't
makeover
work.
shows. Like even the makeover doesn't help the poor guy. There's just some poor folks that just don't have it, no matter what. All right. So 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine, right? Now the word here in Hebrew, the dreams are one. It's not that. It's a better translation, I think, might have been alike. The dreams are alike, right? They're not one in the sense that they're the exact same dream. It's that the 2 different manifestations of this are translating to Pharaoh or reinforcing, doubling to him the sureness of the coming thing, which is going to be famine followed by, or feast followed by famine, right? So they are alike, right? Now the magicians here is the same word that's used in Hebrew whenever someone is an astrologer or a fortune teller in the scripture, someone who practices divination, like the witch at Endor who Saul forces by pain of death to bring up Samuel out of Sheol. That whole scenario in, I think that's 1 Samuel. So anyone who uses demonic arts to practice witchcraft, sorcery, like another thing you see in the scriptures, and you see it in movies too, if you like watching, the 10 Commandments or some old type of thing where it talks about the ancient world, is they'll kill like a goat or sheep and they'll put their entrails into a bowl and they'll like cast some runes in there and they'll mix it around. That's supposed to tell you something, right? The future, whether a good omen or an evil omen.
Well, how about the tea when you turn your cup over after the tea leaves?
Yeah. Any form where you're calling upon spiritual powers, which are always demonic, to give you some kind of omen or a view of the future. Oh, you're just doing this?
Oh, yeah.
I thought maybe you were speaking sign. I'm like, I don't know American Sign Language. Sorry.
She's over there sending signals.
I hope I just didn't just do something bad on the internet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Pastor Juan just said this, and I don't know. Sorry. All right. So anyways, that's the dream. They're alike, right? This is coming, and I gave you the dream twice in 2 different modes just to make you doubly impress in your mind that these things are fixed, that this is what the Lord is about to do, verse 28. All right, so someone want to read 29 through the end of 36.
There will come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. But after them there will arise 7 years of famine, and all the plenty will be forgotten in the land of Egypt. The famine will consume the land, and the plenty will be unknown in the land by reason of the famine that will follow, for it will be very severe. And the doubling of Pharaoh's dream means that the thing is fixed by God, and God will shortly bring it about. Now therefore let Pharaoh select a discerning and wise man and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh proceed to appoint overseers over the land and take 1/5 of the produce of the land of Egypt during the 7 plenty years, and let them gather all the food of those good years that are coming and store the grain under the authority of Pharaoh for the food of the cities, and let them keep it. That food will be a reserve for the land against the 7 years of famine that are to occur in the land of Egypt, so that the land may not perish through the famine.
Okay, now it is a well-established psychological, sociological, and historical pattern that the vast majority of human beings psychologically condition themselves, or are easily conditioned by various authorities to believe that the good times never end, right? In spite of the fact that there's plenty of visible manifestations that some bad things are possibly coming down the road. It's a human weakness that you just want to put your head in the sand and not think of, or plan even. Or you make a plan, but then you don't work a plan, right? Because there's one thing like saying, well, I'm going to do this, and then you never lift a finger to like plan for whatever, right? So it's just human frailty that you just like, well, we'll cross our fingers. You hear people say these kinds of things all the time, like, well, I don't want to talk about bad things. You avoid this subject altogether, right? So here you have a situation where the Lord is telling them these things are fixed, he says, and I'm going to do it. But I'm going to warn you in advance, right? It's like the book of Revelation that we're studying, right? These things are fixed. I'm coming back. I'm going to bring the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse down through the church age. And there's going to be wars and famine and death. And there's going to be all these things. But I'm telling you, so that you can prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in every way to get through the tribulation and the great tribulation and endure to the end, right? Because the one who endures to the end will receive the crown of life. In the United States today, for example, we have this same thing where we've had not just 7 years of plenty, but we've had decades. I'm looking around the room here, and I don't think any of us in this room have... there's been a few down years where you've had